All right, welcome to Keeping It Real, the largest podcast for real estate agents and by real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris. I am your guide and host through the show. And today on the show, we have our monthly series, the Monday Market Minute with Carrie McCormick from At Properties and from the Carrie McCormick Real Estate Group. Now, Carrie is a top 1% producer in Chicago with over 20 years of experience helping buyers, sellers, and investors. In fact, in the past 12 months, out of 44,000 real estate agents here in the Chicagoland area, Carrie is currently ranked number 16 in production. She's a true superstar and expert in everything from first-time home buyers, veteran investors, and luxury properties. She also works with a lot of developers and is often chosen to represent their high-end developments. And I know this to be a fact because I am purchasing a property that Carrie also represents through a developer currently. So that is just how she is everywhere here in the Chicagoland market. We are thrilled to have her on our show. Please visit Carrie at her website, which is CarrieMcCormickRE.com, and also visit her on Instagram. Carrie, what is your Instagram? I don't have it in front of me.
It's Carrie McCormick Real Estate.
Yeah, so at Carrie McCormick Real Estate on Instagram, but please check out her website, CarrieMcCormickRE.com. It's a really, both her social media and her website are great models for what agents can aspire to have to promote yourself, to your sphere of influence and for people to find you online. Carrie, welcome once again to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. What a wonderful and crazy world we're in now, right?
Yeah. Well, not only are we connected in this home this condo that I'm buying, we also just found out that we might be going to the exact same resort on a vacation coming up in October, which I cannot even begin to calculate this is not something near where either of us live. And we just happen to be going to a similar place possibly. And she goes, well, where are you staying? And she mentioned the place. I couldn't remember. And I was like, oh my God, just last night I booked a hotel there. So, I guess we have to keep doing the show because we're so connected.
From there.
Well, what's going on with the market? What's happening here in Chicago?
Our market is bipolar. That's the way I look at this Chicago market. It's very like in one part of the city, things are flying off the shelf. We're seeing multiple offers. We're seeing some great activity. And then you go to another pocket in the city and it's crickets. It's extremely quiet. There's a lot of articles, that come out daily to the real estate community that I read, and it's interesting because they're all a little disconnected to some degree. You'll read some that, our activity is doing really well, and I think that is supported by the suburban market because everyone knows with COVID and what's been happening, there's been this movement to some degree to the suburbs. So our friends in the suburbs have gotten this great tick up of activity, and the homes are, flying off the shelf there. So again, we're getting great activity there. But then you go into like a Streeterville or Gold Coast into these high-rise buildings, and we're just not getting any showing requests, and it's frustrating because those sellers will, read a headline of activity is up or prices are up or whatever it is, and they're sitting there waiting for the phone to ring. So, that's why I called it a little bit of a bipolar market, because it's really, it's dependent on the neighborhood, the size of the home, whether you have a good outdoor space, home offices now for your children to learn out of, so
Sure.
The way people live has changed quite a bit. But one thing, when I just look back at the history, as you mentioned, I've been in the market for 20 years and just kind of watching trends and, what's happened, just, activity leads to pricing. So like, for example, in 2005, we had a tremendous amount of activity. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I was working on a building at 222 Columbus, and that year we had sold 381 condos. And I remember it just because it was like such a record sales velocity, and there was all this activity. And what happened then from 2005 with all that activity in the market is in 2006, it bumped up prices, right? Because now
Sure.
the supply and demand took an effect of, all this demand rose prices. And then, obviously 2008 had happened and the market crashed, obviously not just in Chicago, but all over. And then we took a couple of years to recover from that. So really from 2012 is when Chicago really started to recover to now. There has been somewhat of a healthy incline in our prices. Like you kind of saw it go like this over the last couple of years, but then for the last 6 years, it's flattened out.
Right.
Which is a little disturbing to watch pricing, kind of just hover, no big spikes, no big decreases, which in some degree is a good thing for our market, because there's some markets like the East and West Coast that have huge highs and lows. Chicago just kind of trucked along here. But then when COVID hit, we hit another decline, in our market. And then
Sure.
we're starting to see it back up. So we've got this big roller coaster of, activity. And when we guide our buyers and sellers in a market like this that has volatility and is ever changing, we really, as realtors and professionals, we need to know a little bit of the trends and the history, and to help guide our clients in the best possible way. And that's one thing I had mentioned to my sellers is, there's data out there, right? And we all can look at the data and absorb the data and make predictions on that data. However, when you work with a seasoned broker who's been through thousands of transactions, and we can somewhat forecast how these deals are going to go, it's important for a seller to work with someone who's been through a lot of these ups and downs and knows how to guide the clients through this, because it's never just a straight road.
Right.
There's always bumps and turns, and there's got to be these expectations and predictions that we can, give to our seller. So I do encourage anyone that's listening who is a seller or buyer in the market to interview a few different agents and make sure you have the same goals and are guided by the right person. And as real estate professionals, that's our job to do that. I know that was a long, a long answer to your question, but that's just kind of where the market is right now.
Yeah, I think expertise is maybe more important than ever. I was just reading an article in Cranes, which for those listening who aren't familiar is a sort of city by city. There's local Chicago in particular business newspaper and business news organization. And they were saying that downtown in the Loop, Carrie, you were sort of mentioning certain areas that have just a lot of inventory and not a lot of buyers. And that may be due to some of the unrest that we've seen, especially down in here in our city, maybe due to other factors. But if you're an agent who hasn't been through some of these changes, these types of cycles before, I think it's a great opportunity to also then get mentored by somebody maybe in your office or another broker who does have experience like Carrie has. This is a big reason why people join teams or partner up. So if you're newer and there's so much uncertainty right now in real estate, a great opportunity is to reach out to somebody who's been there and knows how to weather those storms and knows what to say to clients. My girlfriend's starting her career right now, and she wouldn't, and nor should she know what to say, but she absolutely doesn't know what to say. So she's partnering up with someone that can help, her with those questions as well.
Yeah. Another thing for brokers to look at is, the stock market has the ability to somehow predict the future a little bit. If you want to know like the outlook of the housing market, one place I would say to look at is the S&P Home Builders Index. They have a graph, and it really, if you track that, you'll see that this index keeps hitting new highs, but it's a good tool to put in your pocket and to use and to look at each day. So that's, a tip that I would recommend. The other thing I was going to mention is, again, if there's buyers that are listening or brokers that represent buyers, one of the best things I think a buyer can do right now in this market, because interest rates are so low, and there's a lot of inventory that's sitting on the market that hasn't moved, and most of that inventory that hasn't moved, they need a little bit of a refresh. It's got either the yellow paints or the maple cabinets or Uba Tuba countertops. For those in my age bracket know what that is. But those are great buys because some of the bones of those places are really great and they just need a little bit of a facelift. So if those have been sitting on the market for some time, it's a great time for you as a buyer to go in, offer a price that you feel comfortable with. Do a little bit of work, be your own HGTV star, do some work on it, and you might be the person that's going to get a decent return on that investment for putting the hard work into it. So I think those are actually good buys right now.
Yeah, it's a really good tip. I know when I was looking before I selected the property that I'm purchasing, we looked at a lot of what I'm doing as a new development that Carrie's representing, but we looked at a lot of existing properties as well, and we saw marble choices or granite choices from 15 years ago that were like, oh, whoa, a very extreme choice that maybe was cool back then, certainly hasn't stayed as current. And so I'm so used to not having to do work around things like homes that I immediately was like, nope. And I should have thought more specifically about, how much would that cost to replace the tile in the bathroom that looks like, something that I don't, isn't my aesthetic. And I just immediately went, no. And I bet most buyers are sort of wired that same way. So this is a great opportunity as an agent to really say, you know what, don't worry about that. We can fix that. That can be swapped out. And we'll just build it into the price, because I know I just want something ready-made and perfect, and obviously that's not what you get in most cases. So that's a little tip there. Is just don't.
Yeah, and I agree.
Yeah.
They're mostly like that, but for the ones that want to dive a little bit into a project, those are great properties to buy and do a little project on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So talk to your buyers about that and say, don't let some of the aesthetics scare you. We can change everything, and you'll might be able to get a better deal. So my just quick marketing minute. This is such a basic, simple, no-brainer idea. I'm almost reluctant to say it because people are going to say, yeah, well, I already knew I'm supposed to do that. But I always think we know probably what we're supposed to do all the time anyway. So I'm just going to remind you what you already know, but it's probably a good idea. If you're in between clients right now, really, and again, this is one of those things that we probably all did when we first started out as agents, and maybe we've become busy, and so we've tapered off doing, and now we can return to it if we're not as busy. And this would be open houses. So whether you have listings or whether you don't, obviously, if you have listings, do open houses as often as possible, because that's, where you might meet some buyers and also just learn how to talk real estate or learn how to better communicate, the value of a property when people walk through. But also, if you don't have listings, what a great opportunity to meet other agents either in your office. Well, I guess it'd have to be in your office. At least in Illinois, you're not allowed to do open houses for people who work at other companies. I think different states have different rules, but if you work in an office with at least a few other agents, great opportunity to go over to them and say, I'm not that busy right now. I'd be honored to do some open houses for you. Would that be okay for, your properties? And, some agents will say yes, some probably won't be comfortable with that, but enough will. And really you're doing, a huge service to the seller and that seller's agent, because of course it creates activity for the property. And, the owner probably feels good that something's happening and the agent, has somebody to help with that. So I always say, if you're not busy, and you're not, either going out and spending all your time meeting people to add to your database, which of course you should be doing too, but, do some open houses. Try to schedule every weekend. Carrie, you have open houses. God only knows how many times a week, but I know even as busy as you are, you're still setting those up constantly.
Yeah, so I actually like to work up my own open houses too, and I do agree with you. They're really great. And another tip, just to piggyback on that, is I was working an open house last weekend, and a new agent had stopped into the open house, and I was excited to have someone in there. And he said, I'm new to the industry. I just wanted to stop by to meet you and wanted to
Wow.
see an open house. What materials do you have out? How do you greet clients? And it
Wow.
was really a learning session for him. And he was doing that with like a few different open houses. He just wanted to see how different agents conducted open houses, their signage, their materials. And I just thought, wow, that was a really
Wow.
smart thing to do. Just to, and he said, I'm going to do my own way, but I just want to see how other people are doing them. And I thought, well, that was really smart of him to spend the afternoon doing that. So that was a really, good thing to do if you're a new agent.
Wow, what a great tip. Yeah, what an awesome idea. So in Chicago here we have what are called the broker open, which we even have open houses just for agents to agents. And so your own local MLS or local association might also have similar things. But yeah, pick out the top agents in the area and go see what they do, and maybe call them ahead of time or shoot them a message. Hey, I'm going to swing by. I'm just here to to say hello and meet you, and I just want to see how you form an open house. Maybe even bring them a little, bring them a coffee or something as a thank you. But boy,
Didn't get a
that is
but
such a smart idea.
I was glad that he didn't call ahead of time just because he kind of caught me off guard, because I
That's true. You might have said, no, I'm good. I don't want you ruining my. Yeah, that's really smart. Maybe just show up and politely introduce. Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate it. I thought that was just, it was a hustle. I thought it was really good on his behalf.
Yeah, learn from the best, everyone, and reach out to them. So yeah, reach out to people in your own office to see if they can give you some open houses to do, and then go around and see what the top agents are doing. I'll bet you the way they conduct those open houses is different from other agents, and just go in and politely introduce yourself. And I'm sure they'd be honored. Like Carrie was saying, it's flattering to have somebody come say, "I want to see what you do," and I think that's really cool. So great ideas all around, and Carrie, we are going to say thank you. I think we just lost Carrie, unfortunately. So I'm going to say goodbye on behalf of Carrie. First of all, everyone who is listening, I want you to go to visit Carrie's website, carriemccormickre.com, carriemccormickre.com. If you are a buyer, a seller, a renter, an investor who is looking for a top agent in the Chicagoland area, we recommend Carrie as much as anybody, because she's 20 years in the business and exceptionally good. So you can reach her directly on our website. All of her social media is there, including Instagram. If you're an agent, go to her website and then get over to her Instagram and Facebook and look to see the content she creates for her contact list. Another really inspiring effort that she puts together, and it's really engaging, and she gets a tremendous amount of traction on her social media profile. So go to carriemccormickre.com, reach out to Carrie. She's always happy to answer questions, and if you're somebody looking for a realtor here in the Chicagoland area, give Carrie a call. Otherwise, we will see you guys next month. And Carrie, thank you so much for being on the show. And on behalf of Carrie and myself, we want to thank everyone for continuing to listen and support us. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.